Hello everyone, welcome to Advanced Knowledge Systems and a warm welcome to AKS IAS Academy, which is one of the premier institutions in India, and it offers examination coaching for UPSC, CSC, State Public Service Commission, SSC Combined Graduate Level and CLAT examinations. And about me, I am Sandeep Bhushan Tumala, and my credentials are I have 10 years of teaching experience for civil services. I take up international relations and internal security and the analysis of the Hindu newspaper. And this session is in regards to the DNA of the Hindu newspaper of today's, that is of 12th of February 2021. And in this session, I would be emphasizing on the keywords and the key phrases which will emphasize from the newspaper, and it will be useful for the UPSC factual, analytical, conceptual questions for the preliminary examination. And while you imbibe the keywords and the key phrases in your answer writing, your answers for the mains examination would be precise and concise, and thereby you would score higher marks in the mains examination. And this session at AKS IAS Academy Daily News Analysis will certainly help you to crack both prelims as well as mains examination for the year 2021. And before we get into the DNA of the newspaper, we will look at the quote of the day, and the quote of the day says that don't limit your challenges, challenge your limits. So this is very crucial. While you want to get success and want to have success, do not limit your challenges, but rather you challenge your limits. And now we'll get into the DNA of the newspaper, and here we are looking at the coordinated disengagement, and this was made it very clear to the nation that the country is coming forward for the coordinated disengagement by our defense minister Mr. Rajnath Singh in the Rajya Sabha. Yesterday we had looked at the news that the Chinese military has come forward saying that there would be a coordinated disengagement. And here today's news talks about the statement made by our defense minister Mr. Rajnath Singh in the Rajya Sabha, saying that he has said that both India and China have reached an agreement on disengagement in the Pyongyang Lake, and this coordinated disengagement agreement would cease, that means it would stop any kind of forward deployment, and that seizure or stoppage of the forward deployments would be on a phased, coordinated and in a verified manner, and this will certainly or gradually substantially restore the situation what was between India and China before April 2020. This means that the coordinated disengagement would be beneficial for both the countries' national security. And the minister has also spoken in the Rajya Sabha talking about the Chinese troops which they have the presence in the North Bank area, and that is up to the east of finger 8. Yesterday we have discussed about finger 1 to finger 8, and from finger 4 to finger 8 or from finger 8 to finger 4 they have entered, that is Chinese troops have ingressed into the Indian territory about 8 kilometers, and therefore now as per the defense minister's statement in the Rajya Sabha, the Chinese side will keep its troop presence in the North Bank area of the east of finger 8, and reciprocally as per the agreement on the disengagement, which is a coordinated disengagement, Indian troops will be based, or they will come back to the permanent base of Indian troops at Dhan Singh Tapa post, which is at finger 3. So definitely now there is a coordinated disengagement which is very clear, and both are going forward to seize any kind of forward deployment in a phased, coordinated and a verified manner. And this coordinated disengagement is a mutual and reciprocal steps, and any structures which have been built by both the sides along the LAC since to April 2020, and as per the coordinated disengagement all the structures will be removed and the landforms will be restored back what it was prior to April 2020, and both the sides have agreed an temporary moratorium, that is temporary suspension on the military activities in the North Bank, and also they have agreed that temporary suspension on the patrolling, especially which are in the traditional areas. And this patrolling now will be resumed or will be now opened only when both sides reached an agreement, and this agreement would be in a diplomatic and a military talks, and thereby it would be a subsequently a coordinated effort that the patrolling would be resumed. That means today's news talks about that Rajnath Singh, that is Defense Minister, Mr. Rajnath Singh has made a point or a statement in the Rajya Sabha in regards to the coordinated disengagement between the India and China along the LAC in the eastern Ladakh, which is a very good sign from both the countries that they are moving away the troops and also the military equipments along the LAC. And there is another news which talks about the social media platforms, and social media platforms have been informed or they have been told by the Minister for Information Technology and Communication that the social media platforms have to follow the law. That means the law of the land, and also they have to follow the Constitution of India. And this was said by Ravi Shankar Prasad, that is the Minister for Information Technology and Communication. While saying this, he has made it very clear that the global social media platforms are certainly welcome. They are open to work and earn money in India. Please do understand, the minister has made it very clear to the global social media platforms they are welcome to work and earn money in India, but while they are working and earning money in India, they should follow the law of the land and they should also follow the Constitution of India. Please do understand, here there are two keywords, that is following the law of the land and also following the Constitution of India. Why? Because there is a keyword that is in regards to the freedom of speech and expression, which the social media platforms or Twitter has raised the point saying that we are following as per the law or the Indian law, making it very clear that the content which is on the social media platform, that is Twitter, is right and it is as per the freedom of speech of expression as per the Indian Constitution. But Minister has made it very clear that Article 19 of 2 of the Indian Constitution makes it very clear that the freedom of speech and expression has or it is subject to a reasonable restrictions. When Article 19 of subclause 2 of the Indian Constitution is subject to the reasonable restriction, and that is because Article 19 of 2 of the Indian Constitution has to be followed, or the law has to be followed by the global social media platform. The statement made by the Minister of Information Technology and Communication is because taking into consideration of sovereignty and integrity of India. So here the keyword what you need to focus is the freedom of speech and expression. No doubt India has that freedom of speech and expression as per Article 19, but as per Article 19 of subclause 2, that freedom of speech and expression are subject to reasonable restriction, and that is because taking into consideration of the sovereignty of and integrity of India, it was imbibed in the Indian Constitution, that is Article 19 of 2. The keywords are here is Article 19 of subclause 2, sovereignty and integrity of India, and follow the law and the Constitution of India. And the minister has also said it when there was a kind of Washington Capitol Hill ransacking. There in the US, the police has acted, but the micro-blogging site, that is Twitter, they have gone ahead with supporting the US Police Act. But when the similar situation has taken at Red Fort on the Republic Day, that is 26 January, and this platform, that is Twitter, has opposed it, and the minister is comparing the Red Fort incident to the Washington Capitol Hill's ransacking, and then making it very clear that when Twitter has supported the police act in US or Washington's Capitol Hill ransacking, why is the Twitter or the global social media platform is against the police act in the Redford? And he made it very clear that freedom of speech is certainly there, but with a reasonable restrictions. So when there are reasonable restrictions which are enshrined in the Indian Constitution by Article 19 of subclause 2, Ravi Shankar Prasad makes it very clear that why have double standards, emphasizing or focusing on the Twitter, and is asking the Twitter why cannot or you cannot spread any hate messages such as PM Modi massacre of farmers. So this was the tweet in the Twitter wherein the minister has asked to remove or to block the content in the Twitter. That is, PM Modi massacre of farmers was there, which was a hate message, and this is a cause of concern by the Union government and raised by the Information and Technology Minister, Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad, against or talking heavily on the Twitter. And the kind of row which has been intensified between the center and the microblogging, that is Twitter, that the center or the government of India wanted the Twitter or the microblogging to block 250 accounts which were using the hashtag which were related to farmers genocide. And the center has also asked the Twitter to almost go ahead with blocking 1178 accounts that the security agencies of India were suspecting that these accounts were backed by Khalistani sympathizers and Pakistanis. So therefore, the row between center or the union government and the Twitter has been because of the hashtag being used, that is farmers genocide, and the hate message such as PM Modi massacre of farmers. And here the government is very clear and then hinting a kind of warning to the global social media platforms that they can work and earn money in India, but while they work and earn money in India, they should follow the law and the Constitution of India. And this is in regards to the information technology for prelims as well as mains examination, and also in regards to the polity, that the minister is emphasizing that the freedom of expression and speech is certainly there in India, but it is having or subjected to reasonable restrictions, because taking into consideration of the sovereignty and the integrity of India, that is as per Article 19 of subclause 2. So information and technology and also polity perspective, you can go through this while you are analyzing for prelims as well as mains examination. And there is another news in regards to the over the top players, and here the keyword is self-regulatory toolkit. This is a keyword. And over the top players, that is 17 major OTT players, have now adopted self-regulatory toolkit. That means this was just in advance or before what the union government was actually wanting to frame the regulatory framework for the OTT players, that they would be considering or they would be based under some regulations or rules and regulations. But prior to that, before the government of India would come up with the regulations or rules and regulations for the OTT players, 17 major OTT players have adopted self-regulatory toolkit, and that is the Internet and Mobile Association of India have said that, I repeat, the Internet and Mobile Association of India has said that 17 platforms including Netflix, Disney Plus, Hotstar, Amazon Prime Video have adopted a toolkit. And what is the need for adopting a toolkit which is a self-regulatory? Because it is for effective implementation of self-regulation code. Here the keyword is self-regulation code, and this self-regulation code was introduced in India in the year 2020. And while it was introduced in India in the year 2020, now the OTT players have come forward, that is the Internet and Mobile Association of India has come forward that they would be adopting the toolkit of self-regulatory, which would be in for effective implementation of the self-regulation code. The keyword here is self-regulation code, which is useful for prelims as well as mains examination. And the IAMAI body, that is industry body, now with adopting the toolkit, it will set up the IAMAI secretariat for the code, so that the IAMAI secretariat for the code comprises the signatories of the code and also along with the members of the Internet and Mobile Association of India. The another keyword here is IAMAI secretariat to be set up by the industry body, so that it will have the representatives from the one who is signing the code and also from the members of the Internet and Mobile Association of India. And the IA or IMAI is very clear that it wanted even OCCPS, that is online curated content providers, to come up with a common goal. What the IAMAI has come up with the self-regulation code or a toolkit which it has adopted. It wanted even the online curated content providers to undertake a common goal of entertaining millions of Indians responsibly. Here, the point what we need to understand is the two association, or the Internet and Mobile Association of India and the online curated content providers, have to come forward, or there is a need that IAMAI and OCCPS have to come together and go ahead with achieving a common goal for entertaining millions of Indians responsibly, so that the effective implementation of the self-regulation code of 2020 would be having its efficacy, so that there will not be any kind of hate messages or messages which would hurt the religious sentiment, and any kind of sexual abuse should not be part of the content of the OTT. And the IAMAI has said that the toolkit which it has adopted as a self-regulatory mechanism, it amplifies critical points, and it will also address, or these critical points have been addressed in the code which have been signed last year. And the aim of the toolkit to be introduced or to be adopted is to address the feedback which is received by the minister or the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, and also its aim is to strengthen the grievance redress mechanism. The main intention of adopting the toolkit by IMAI is to address the feedback from the ministry, and also to strengthen the grievance redressal mechanism, and to set up guiding principles and code of ethics. This is the keyword which could be a probable question for the mains examination, that how the over the top players, that is Internet and Mobile Association of India, have come forward to adopt a toolkit which is a self-regulatory mechanism, and this aims at guiding principles and code of ethics. And the aim of the IAMAI is to address the feedback received from the ministry, and also all the issues which are in regards to the conflict of interest and the prohibited content. So whenever there is an issue which is been put forth by the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, the feedback which is received will be addressed, and they will look into, that is the toolkit would look into the issues of conflict of interest and prohibited content. Here the keyword is that there has to be a very clear understanding about there should not be any conflict of interest, and there should be all the content has to be as per the self regulation code. And it also aims to provide procedures so that it would effectuate the various provisions of the code of 2020, and it will also assist the signatories in fulfilling the commitments and responsibilities which are set up in the code, and it will also assist to achieve effective self regulation goals as envisioned by the signatory of the code. The important one here is this keyword self regulatory code. This self regulation code, what the IAMAI, that is Internet and Mobile Association of India, aims with coming up or adopting the toolkit. These are the one which you need to focus so that you will have a clear understanding from conceptual of the importance of self-regulation code 2020, which is very useful for the prelims as well as mains examination. And the another news which it is in regards to is the Kerala High Court has allowed medical termination of pregnancy, that is medical termination of a young rape survivor's pregnancy. And when the Kerala High Court has come up, or it has allowed a minor to end pregnancy, this verdict of the Kerala High Court has crossed the legally permissible period for the procedure, that is for the medical termination of pregnancy. So for the medical termination of pregnancy as per the Act 1971 and the revised one, that is as per 2020, the legally permissible period is actually 24 weeks. But here in this case, which the Kerala High Court has allowed the medical termination of a young rape survivor's pregnancy, it has crossed 28 weeks, and this is the oldest to be cleared by the Kerala High Court. And Justice P.V. Asha has permitted the MTP, that is medical termination of pregnancy, on a petition which was filed by the mother of the young rape survivor, which is of 16 years old, and the pregnancy has crossed 28 weeks. And as per the Medical Termination Pregnancy Act 1971 and the 2020, which it has increased the number of weeks which the court can allow the abortion is from 20 to 24 weeks. But here in this case, the pregnancy of the young rape survivor, who is a 16-year-old, has crossed 28 weeks, and thereby it is the oldest to be cleared by the Kerala High Court, and it has also crossed the legally permissible period for the procedure. But still, the Kerala High Court has gone ahead with giving the permission for the medical termination. And here in this case, the accused in the case is a minor, and now she has been sent for care home for children, and the police has also booked a case under Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act. Here another keyword is in regards to the POCSO Act, which you need to focus for prelims as well as mains examination. One is medical termination or Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act 1971 or later on 2020. So these are the two keywords. One is POCSO Act and the other one is Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act 1971, and the amended one was in the year 2020, which it has amended that the number of weeks which allows for the medical termination of pregnancy, it was increased from 20 to 24 weeks. But here in this case, the pregnancy of the girl child of the young rape survivor has crossed even 24, and it is now 28 weeks. And the medical board, while we are looking at it, is not only Kerala High Court, but the medical board has reported that fetus has faced a high risk of poor neurological development. So in what circumstances the medical board has given a report about the 28 weeks which has crossed of the pregnancy of a young rape survivor, because the fetus has faced a high risk of poor neurological development, and the mental and physical development of fetus was likely to be very bad. That is why a report was provided by the medical board that there is a necessity that it has to be terminated, the pregnancy has to be terminated, and the panel has suggested that termination of pregnancy can be considered because there would be a possible adverse psychological impact on the girl, that is the mother who is a young rape survivor, and there could be an adverse anomalies in the fetus. Thereby, the panel has suggested termination of pregnancy, and in turn, on the report of the medical board, the Kerala High Court has taken a decision and it has allowed the medical termination of young rape survivors' pregnancy. And this is very crucial as it is very important from the POCSO Act and also the Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act 1971. And this Act 1971 medical termination, it allows Ayush doctors also to conduct abortion, and this earlier it was only for 20 weeks, but it has now increased it to 24 weeks. And 22 millions are unsafe abortion in India. 7 million abortions are conducted annually in India. 50% of abortions in India are illegal, and this is a cause of concern. And the rate of maternal deaths due to the unsafe abortion complication is 8%. And this statistical information is also very crucial for you for the mains examination in regards to the Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act 1971. And there is another Supreme Court verdict which is in regards to the disabled, and the Supreme Court has said that disabled are entitled for facilities, and the Supreme Court's verdict is in regards to that. The Supreme Court has held that, or it has said that the government of India is not conferring a largesse. Largesse is, that means the government is not conferring any kind of generosity or any kind of liberality on disabled people. How? By facilitating a scribe. Scribe means a transcriber or a copyist during the course of the civil services examination. That means there is a scenario or a system wherein the UPSC conducted civil services examination. The UPSC facilitates a scribe to these disabled people. But the Supreme Court has held that the government is not conferring any kind of generosity or a liberality on the disabled people by facilitating a scribe during the course of the civil services examination. Now we will look at why the Supreme Court has said that the government or else the UPSC and the Department of Personnel and Training is not going at or not doing any kind of generosity or liberality on the disabled people by providing or facilitating a scribe, because the court said that it is high time that the government shed. Please do understand. That means the Supreme Court is making it very clear that the government is not doing any kind of generosity or liberality, and if it is having that kind of any sense, then the government of India has to shed its fundamental fallacy. Fallacy means myth or misconception which the government of India is coming up by the UPSC or the Department of Personnel and Training, that only persons with benchmark disability, because UPSC or DOPT comes up with a kind of fundamental fallacy that only persons with benchmark disability, this is a keyword, it has a benchmark that it will consider the disability, only then it will facilitate the disabled people by a scribe in the UPSC exam. Or the court says that it should now come up or it should shed its concept of benchmark disability or specified disability of 40% or more, so that UPSC or DOPT can accommodate a scribe while an individual or a disabled person goes ahead with taking up the competitive test like the civil services examination. Here the keyword what we need to focus, what the Supreme Court has said to the government that fundamental fallacy, benchmark disability or specified disability of 40 percentage. And the Supreme Court has said that while you are going ahead with a benchmark disability or a certain or specified disability of 40 percentage of more, only then you will be considering a candidate or a person as a disabled person, that he or she can be facilitating or facilitated with a scribe in the by taking up the competitive test like civil services examination, is a clear violation of the intent to provide, is a clear violation of the intent to provide reasonable accommodation for the disabled persons. And this is a clear violation, what the court says is under the Right to Persons with Disability Act 2016. So the act which you need to focus for prelims as well as mains examination, that the Supreme Court has said that the reasonable accommodation for the persons with disabilities is a clear violation of the intent to provide under the Right to Persons with Disabilities Act of 2016. And in turn, the court has observed that the principle of reasonable accommodation, this is the key phrase, the principle of reasonable accommodation captures the positive obligations of the state and the private parties. That means the reasonable accommodation is the positive or it is the obligation of the state and the private parties, so that the state and the private parties have to provide additional support to persons with disabilities, and it is the obligation of the state and the private parties to support additional support by persons with disabilities, so that it would facilitate the state and private parties full and effective participation in the society. That means it is necessary that it should not be a reasonable accommodation, but the states and the private parties' obligation is to provide additional support. Please do understand, it is not a reasonable accommodation, but the state and the private parties have to provide additional support to persons with disabilities, so that the persons with disabilities will have the kind of facilitation so that they can facilitate with their full and effective participation in the society. And it is the duty and the responsibility of the state and private parties that the persons with disabilities can have their full and effective participation in the society. And that is the observations made by the Supreme Court against the government in regards to the principle of reasonable accommodation. And the judgment was based on the appeal which was filed by or on behalf of Vikash Kumar, that he was a candidate with a writer's camp. And this is a keyword, because Vikash Kumar, who was a candidate for UPSC exam, was with a writer's camp. What does the writer's camp means? Writer's camp means it is a neurological or chronic neurological condition wherein it would be the person would have extreme difficulty in writing, and thereby Vikash Kumar has asked for a scribe because he was suffering with writer's camp, that is a chronic neurological condition, so that it is very extremely difficult for him to write the examination. But the civil services examination by the UPSC has been denied the permission to grant a scribe to Vikash Kumar, who was suffering with writer's camp, that is a chronic neurological condition, in the year 2018 on the grounds, that means he was denied a scribe by the UPSC in 2018 on the ground that he did not come up with within the definition of persons with benchmark disability. That is why the court has observed that the principle of reasonable accommodation is a clear violation by the UPSC under the right to persons with disabilities. So here what you need to focus is UPSC versus the Persons with Disabilities Act 2016. This is that you need to focus for mains perspective. How you can link the UPSC's reasonable restriction or UPSC's benchmark disability or UPSC's specified disability of 40% or more, wherein it can accommodate a scribe to an person with disabled while taking a competitive test like civil services examination. This is a crucial information from Indian Society or Persons with Disabilities Act 2016 and persons of reasonable restriction, and the another keyword is writer's camp, which is a chronic neurological condition. So this is a very crucial information for prelims as well as mains examination. Take into consideration of the Act, RPWD Act of 2016. And now there is a question for the mains examination. You can try to answer this, and this is as per the PWD Act, that is what the court has observed in regards to the UPSC providing a scribe to the person with disability. The principle of reasonable accommodation captures the positive obligation of the state and the private parties to provide additional support to persons with disabilities so that it facilitates its full and effective participation in society. Analyze. And this is for the mains examination in regards to the Indian society or social issues. Social issues. You can certainly try this and then start writing an answer which will be useful for your preparation. And I hope this session was informative, knowledgeable, and also very important for mains as well as prelims perspective. So I would say a very big thank you to all and a good luck to you all. And then do maintain consistency, stick to your schedule, and take care of your physical health and mental health. And do not forget to like the video, share the video, and subscribe the AKS IAS Academy English Medium YouTube channel. And also have access to the website and also to the Telegram link of AKS IAS Academy, that is Advanced Knowledge System. And then see you again tomorrow with the DNA, that is Daily News Analysis at AKS IAS Academy. Till then, thank you, goodbye, and then take care.